What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well, you cheeky so-and-sos. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/AmITheA butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, please do so. Timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. Please use them, that's what they're there for. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it massively helps out our channel. And we do have some member updates as well, but first I just want to say a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me over the past week or so. I know I haven't been very active in the comments and stuff like that, and I'm very aware of it, and I really want to, but all I can do at the moment is read them just because time is very short at the minute. Everything that was going on with my dad and stuff, they're just mountains of paperwork that I got to get through, and then I got my other job and YouTube at the same time. It's all a bit of a balance and act at the moment. And I know what you're going to say, take some time off, Mark. But I can't. I just love being here. I love getting involved with you guys and posting the video and seeing your reactions. It just makes my day. But anyway, let's move on to the members. And on Patreon, we had Always Wondering join us, Fleur, Sky Andromeda, and we also had Kayla Ruitz. Thank you so much for your support. And then we had Mulaney over on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for your support. I don't deserve it, but you continue to give it, and I am so thankful. Thank you so much for being you. You are absolutely amazing, each and every one of you. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from Disastrous Tie 449. Am I the arsehole for not babysitting for my sister-in-law anymore after she called the police on me? My sister-in-law and I have an agreement. She watches my kids 3 days a week and I watch hers 3 days a week. This agreement has stood since March 2020 without issues. Any changes have been discussed weeks in advance. A couple of weeks ago we had an argument. The next day I brought my kids to her house, dropped them off and left. I didn't speak to my sister-in-law because when one of us is in a rush, like I was, it's standard for us to just let the kids out, stay in the car and drive off when you see the door open. I drove to work about 40 minutes away. When I got there, I had about 20 missed calls and even more texts, all from my sister-in-law, all saying she didn't want to watch the kids given our argument. Her first text arrived a little before I got to her place, but I didn't see it until I got to work because my phone is always on silent when I drive. I rang her, said I'll arrange to work from home, then come get the kids. She said I have 45 minutes to get back to her place or she would call the police. I told my supervisor the situation and she said I could leave after I did a few things. This delayed me 20 minutes. When I got back to my sister-in-law's just over an hour later, she said she'd already called the police when the 45 minutes ran out. I then had to stick around long enough to tell the officer I didn't abandon my children. There was just a communication issue. Sister-in-law and I had another shouting match later over this. I arranged other childcare for my kids and I've been mostly ignoring her since. However, she reached out and apologised and has asked if I'll be willing to go back to the old childcare arrangement. I've told her to go fuck herself. I work with kids. If I got child abandonment on my record, I would never work in my field again, which she knew, and her calling the police was a massive overreaction. So if she needs a babysitter, she can go whistle for all I care. She said if I checked my phone, talked to her that morning, or came back when I was supposed to, she would have not needed to call the police. And I did this to myself, as she gave me a warning with that first text, and I could have checked my phone or spoken to her directly when I got to her place. All of which she says she would have done if she were in my position. Given that we'd argued the night before, I've told her if she thinks I'm babysitting for her, she's fucking delusional, and she's on her own. Because of my refusal, it's looking like she may have to quit her job because my brother and her would pay more for a babysitter than they would earn from her working. My mother and brother have both called me an arsehole because there were no consequences to her calling the police, and that while she overreacted, she apologised, so if I really forgive her, I'll let us move on. This income loss would also mean that she, my brother and my niece and nephew might need to move somewhere cheaper. That my brother might have to take on extra hours at work, and in an extreme scenario, they may even be completely unable to live independently, meaning they have to move in with her parents, who live several hours away. Am I the arsehole? Now let's face it, she called the police purely out of spite, and that's all she did. So, she escalated the situation to this point. Now she's getting the consequences of that overreaction, which was a huge overreaction in my opinion. And for her to turn around and saying it's your fault because you didn't check your phone, blah, blah, blah. And you think calling the police is an okay thing to do then? Absolutely not. You're not the arsehole in this situation. And screw anyone who says otherwise. be it your brother, mother, father, or whoever it is. Absolutely not the arsehole. But Unit Healthy says not the arsehole, the only delusional person here is sister-in-law, who calls the police on an essential worker out of spite. Let her struggle to find childcare or lose her job. You could have easily lost yours. And Terry says not the arsehole, don't let her reel you back in. She still blames you for her calling the police, which means she isn't sorry and would do it again. Her losing you as a babysitter is a consequence of her actions. And Vanessa Pass says, and quotes, she said if I checked my phone, talked to her that morning, or came back when I was supposed to, she would have not needed to call the police, and I did this to myself. And then says basically she darvoed, denied, accused, reverse victim and offender. Not only is it gross to up and decide to not watch the kids as per your agreement because she is mad at you, indeed take it out on the kids, but also to let you know by text after you already had left. She was trying to create another argument. She beyond escalated this to a place it never should have gone, calling the police and risking your license. Your mum and bro need to take a flying leap though for encouraging you to sweep this under the rug. She has shown her true colours, now believe her and follow your gut instinct of cutting her out. And if she complains that she has to leave her work, remind her whichever flying monkey she sends to harass you that she did this to herself. Not the arsehole, OP. And Snarky Navi says not the arsehole, she wanted to escalate it. Enjoy the outcome of the escalation. I'm annoyed that the brother and mother-in-law aren't telling her that she effed up. And embarrassed Newt says not the arsehole one, she's so lacking in impulse control that she didn't game out the very reasonable and obvious consequences of calling the police. A lack of common sense isn't a great trait in childcare provider. 2. Her apology is self-serving. 3. Even if you return to the prior caregiving arrangement, you would never again have confidence that she won't try a similar stunt. And one more from Red Sox saying, not the arsehole. I think there is more than one story about that. 1. Yeah, she apologised and told you it was really your fault for not checking your phone. Poor her. She didn't have a choice, right? 2. She didn't even think that her calling the police could have consequences like that. That's not just evil, that's stupid. Toddler-like stupid. 3. It's not just about forgiving, I guess. It's about trust. I would never trust her again with anything. Never. Maybe next time she's having a tantrum, she'll decide that you abused her children. Absolutely. Things to think about there. But what do you guys think of this story? And what would you do in this situation? With all the family pressuring you and all this kind of thing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And just a pre-warning on this next story, it does have mentions of losing a child, so I just make you guys aware of that. So if you are uncomfortable with that, please, use the timestamps below, because that's what they're there for. Much love to you. And our next story is from Name on Tattoo. Am I the arsehole for refusing to remove my tattoo for my girlfriend because of the name? I, 26 male, have been going with my girlfriend over a year. This is the first time she brings up being uncomfortable with it, and she didn't want to say anything before. So when I was 18, my ex-girlfriend and I had a baby boy. He was the most beautiful little baby I've ever seen and so small. I loved him the minute he was born. My boy was born premature and he was in the NICU. He didn't make it though. It was hard and it messed me up for a long time. Sometime after my son passed, I got his name tattooed on my chest with his birth date on it. My girl didn't see it right away, obviously, because I had to be shirtless for anyone to see it. I told her the story the first time she saw it. Now she says it's been bothering her for a while. Didn't want to say anything before because she thought she would get over it. The problem is, my son's name is her ex's name and he was horrible, like pure evil, and she went through a lot to get him out of her life permanently. So seeing me with his name on my chest always reminds her of him, and she's asking me to get it removed. My girlfriend says she knows it's my son's name and all, but times when we're at the beach and I'm shirtless or showering together or about to get into it, she sees my tattoos and her mind goes to him. I told her I don't want to have it removed. It means something to me having my son's name on me because he's not a part of my life in any other way. Try to be sincere and understanding because I know her ex was shit, but my girlfriend is still mad at me. She said she thought after being open and honest about her feelings that I'd take that into consideration, and I'm being an arse basically for not wanting to give her this comfort at least. But I don't know what I could do. My son's name happened to be her ex's too. We can't change that and still like to keep my boy's name. Am I the arsehole? And we'll start off with puzzle-headed ad saying, you're not the arsehole in my opinion. That really sucks for your girlfriend, but 1, she doesn't have jurisdiction of your body. 2, your trauma or pain is just as valid as hers. It seems like she needs to find ways to heal from what her ex did to her, and she shouldn't expect you to remove a tattoo for your son, because she isn't comfortable with it. What if your son was alive? Would she want you to change his name? I'm so sorry for your loss, that's heartbreaking, and I wish you peace and love. As someone else who had a very shitty ex, abusive and toxic, I saw his name everywhere and had to learn to move forward and not associate that very common name with my own pain and trauma. Maybe your girlfriend needs to work on doing the same. Just some words of advice for her, not meaning to sound harsh. Best of luck to you, not the arsehole. And Tabby Kitten says, no one's an arsehole here, this may be just a mutual deal breaker. Having experienced trauma, I can see why she is upset. That would be hard for me too. I won't date anyone with his name and I cringe when I hear it. However, that is your son's name and it's unrealistic for you to be expected to remove the tattoo. You loved him and you need that connection. It might be a good idea to just sit down with her and make it clear that while you respect her and can sympathize, you are keeping the tattoo. She can decide if she can get therapy and deal with it or if the relationship needs to end. And Terra says, not the arsehole. What's she going to do if she ends up having a co-worker with that name? Quit or ask him to change it? She needs therapy and treatment, not to demand that other people change important parts of their lives so she can avoid coping with it. And Dark Tangential says, no one's an arsehole here, but her pain and your pain are on a collision course. Either she breaks up with you because you won't have it removed, or you break up with her, made resentful for having acceded to her demand. And Tersuvian says, not the arsehole, it sucks that she had a bad experience, but yours was just as bad. She can't expect you to erase your son from your life because of her past. This may become a problem that ends the relationship though. It may not be possible for her to get past her previous trauma. And Shangib says, not the arsehole, I feel she's completely out of line asking you to have it removed. Just because she communicated her feelings doesn't mean you have to comply. If your child had lived, would she have asked you to change his name? And now, what do you guys think of this situation? It's an absolute tough one, but what do you guys think? Do you have an opinion on it? Is there some sort of compromise that they could come to? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Would I be the arsehole if I, 26 male, asked my wife, 26 female, not to renew her contract at her current job, which she loves because it's taken up all her time and energy? Since June last year, my wife has been working on a temp contract, working as a counsellor for foster and runaway youth. She's just been asked to stay on and renew her contract this June. She loves her job and she's great at it. She goes above and beyond for the kids she works with, including going in extremely early in the mornings and staying late at night, volunteering to run group counselling and activities on weekends, and being available basically 24/7 to talk to the kids, all without extra pay. It's been almost a full year of her being totally mentally and physically exhausted from her job. She's happier than ever because she feels like she's making a difference, which she truly is, but she also doesn't have the time and energy for much else apart from her job. We haven't spent quality time together for pretty much the whole year, and man, I miss my wife. I've briefly mentioned concerns for her well-being before, but I'm hesitant to make it a big conversation, because she's an adult who can make her own decisions about her well-being. I also would feel incredibly selfish telling her I want her to spend more time with me instead of the kids she's helping. I know that if I outright ask her not to renew her contract, or if I let her know how much her job is affecting me, she'll probably feel guilty and decide to leave her job for my sake. I feel bad about wanting her to give up her job she loves so much, but I also feel like I'm losing my wife. Now, obviously, this is a would I be the arsehole, so he hasn't gone ahead and done it yet. But if he did go ahead, in my opinion, if he did go ahead and just ask her not to renew the contract just like that, which just seems like the extreme option in this case, yeah, I think you would be the arsehole because, you know, there is a compromise here. There is a compromise to this. You know your wife is happy. She's probably the happiest she's ever been. She's making a difference, which is fantastic in itself. And you realize this is fantastic too. You don't sound like a bad person. So the compromise is to talk to her. Sure, she can reduce some hours and then your relationship can get back on track too. And I think that as a good compromise, sure, she's making a huge difference in her workplace, but it's coming at the cost of your relationship at the same time, and you're feeling like you're losing your wife. So I think sitting down and having that conversation, a big conversation, as you said, is the right thing to do. It's the only way possible. You want her to be happy, so talk about it. It's that simple, in my opinion. But let's check out some of the comments to see what they say about this one. Going Kermit says, you would be the arsehole if you straight up ask her not to renew it. She's making a difference to kids who really need someone, and that's fantastic. The world needs more people like your wife. However, you would not be an arsehole if you sat her down like an adult and told her your feelings about it. Be open and honest and let her make the final decision herself. Absolutely. Let's not play down the fact that this woman sounds absolutely fantastic. OP doesn't sound like a bad guy themselves either. They just need to get things back on course. And Beckdog says, you're the arsehole. Why would you have to go full nuclear and ask her to quit? Why not have the adult conversation about feelings neglected and maybe cutting back on some of the off-books hours? You admit you're hesitant to make a big thing of it, so don't make a big thing of it. Start brainstorming compromises and a happy medium. An evasive friend said you would be the arsehole if you asked her not to renew her contract. You should discuss her creating boundaries with her clients and how her job is affecting the marriage. And one more from I Love Gru says, you would be the arsehole. You haven't broached that you miss spending time with her and leap right to not renewing her contract. I volunteer with this demographic, and the only way you have longevity is to put it in place healthy boundaries. In the end, she will be burned out, if not now, within 5 years. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Do you think there is another compromise from what's been said already? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story is from Adorable Holiday. Am I the arsehole for referring to my fiance as my son's father on social media? I have a 4-year-old son from a previous relationship. I have majority custody of my son since my ex lives in a different state and he has an unpredictable job. My ex has a few days a month when he gets our son. I won't call my ex a complete deadbeat because he does pay most of his child support and he calls weekly to check up on our son. Gives him birthday and Christmas gifts and such, but he is not consistent with making all his days. He only gets our son once a month and has often called to cancel or reschedule with varying excuses. I met my fiance about 1.5 years ago. I introduced him to my son after we'd been together for 3 months. He really stepped up to the plate to be a fatherly figure to my son, and I love him for it so much. My ex and I don't talk about our personal lives together, but he knew I had a boyfriend and that he was around our son, and he knew I got engaged. I don't live with my fiance yet, but my fiance spends many nights a week at my house now. So a few days ago, my fiance, son, and I went to the park. I posted 3 pics on Instagram. One of them was me and my fiance and son together at the park with the caption, family time. And another was my fiance carrying my son over his shoulder with the caption, father-son bonding time. My ex and I do not follow each other on social media, but I guess one of his friends told him about what I posted, because a few hours later, he's blowing up my phone demanding to know why I'm referring to my boyfriend as our son's father. He accused me of trying to humiliate him publicly. We got into an argument and he even threatened to try and get full custody. I knew this was an empty threat because he would never do this, lol. I think he's being ridiculous. My fiance and I are planning on getting married this summer. He's not just a boyfriend and I obviously know that my ex is my son's father, but that doesn't change the fact that my fiance has been an amazing father figure in my son's life. He also spends much more time around my son than my ex does. My ex thinks I'm trying to replace him, and I'm being disrespectful. Am I the arsehole here? And there is an edit which we cover straight away. Edit, okay, I was much too kind to my ex in the original post because people are accusing me of all sorts of things. Lol. My ex has minimal custody because he didn't want custody of our son. His threat for filing for custody was completely empty. He's done it before when he's mad at me, and he's never made any effort to get any custody of our kid in the 4 years we've been split up. His excuse was he feels our son would do better with me. He lives a bachelor lifestyle. I actually encouraged him to get our kid once a month. We live in different states because he moved to a different state to be with the girl he cheated on me with. When they broke up, I asked him if he could move back, and he said there were more opportunities for amateur musicians in that state. I'm not trying to distance the relationship between my son and his father. I encourage him to call. I remind him to send gifts for special events and holidays. I would never want my son to believe his father doesn't care about him. However, my fiance has been a father figure in my son's life, much more so than my ex, and that's just a fact. I believe there is nothing wrong with having 2 fathers. And we'll start right away with Royally Oki saying, you're the arsehole, he's not his father, you know that. Just apologise and be honest with people. There would be nothing wrong with saying stepfather and stepson bonding. And Beckdog says you're the arsehole, he's not his father, and while his father may not have custody, it's not like he's fucked off and abandoned his kid completely. Not to mention the fact that you introduced him 3 months in it, sounds to me like you are trying to replace your ex. And NC Kala says, "You're the arsehole, said kindly like you wrote. He's an outstanding father figure, but not your son's father. Perhaps one day, but not now. Not yet. Your son, of course, most likely adores this man that mummy is marrying, and that is awesome. But still too young to grasp fully that he has a bio dad and a stepdad. One day your son may decide to bestow the honour of 'this is my dad' upon your new husband, but until then, he is not. And this is an opinion from someone who remarried when she had 2 very young children, but let the kids decide themselves. If your son wants to call your new husband a cute name, then let your son come up with it himself. Do not prompt or suggest, please. Some stepkids call their stepparent by their given name, John, Steve, Bob, but it doesn't mean they don't love their stepparent more than life itself." And Jordan J says, "Not the arsehole. ETA, I changed my judgment. Per OP's comments, Biodad chooses not to be involved and chooses to leave the state. Leave my original comment below. Good on your fiance for stepping up." And then the original comment says, "You are disrespecting him. It is great that your child has a father figure to look up to, but that doesn't mean his dad just goes away, especially when he's paying his child support and doing the best he can for his son given the circumstances. If he chooses to terminate parental rights and have your fiance adopt, then I would change my mind, but right now you're being a huge arsehole and it seems like you're deliberately disrespecting him with the father-son caption. You know that your fiance isn't dad. There's no reason to give him the title." And one more from Celtic Sky saying, "Not the arsehole," and quotes, "He accused me of trying to humiliate him publicly. Your ex only cares about the optics. You didn't say that your ex was upset because he feels like your fiance is trying to replace him. And odds are, he's pissed because he likely tells everyone around him what a good father he is. Really, if you wanted to humiliate him, you could post photos of your fiance taking your son out on special trips every time your ex cancels with the caption, 'Ex cancelled on son again today, but it's okay, fiance took him to place to ensure he knows he does have a dad that loves him.' And your ex can threaten all he wants. No court would ever give him custody given his pattern of missed dates and backhoe child support. Your fiance is your son's father in every way but one, genetically. Tell your ex he's more than welcome to come spend some bonding time whenever he chooses." And now I turn this one to you guys. Do you have a different opinion on the matter? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you're feeling extra spicy today, you can join the channel by clicking that join button down below or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. It hugely helps out our channel. I cannot express how much it does. It just gives that stability that YouTube doesn't. And that's all I can say on that. But thank you. And never any pressure to do so, by the way. Never ever pressure yourself to do it, because that's the last thing I want. But anyway, thank you so much for your love, support, and time. And I will see you in the next one. You spicy so-and-so.